Siftpop podcast is recorded in front of a live internet audience. Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, the podcast that knows it's what inside that counts, and also where it eventually chooses to come outside. It's Siftpop.
Speaking of Goosebumps,
A little xenomorph humor. Start things off with.
Indeed.
Neomorph, good sir.
Welcome to Siftpop, streaming live on Mixlr every Friday afternoon or available to download in your podcast feed. Unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks.
Patrons get those perks.
Room.
I'm Aaron Dicer from YourMovieFriend.com. I'm joined by Andrew Ormsby from Flick Freaks.
Ahoy.
And every week we'll be joined by a pop culture guru to chat about movies, television, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. Today's guru, it's Sean from Geek.0.
Woo, Sean Spicer.
Wow, that's a room I don't want to be associated with ever.
Sean, can you please explain the actions in regards to... no, none of us want to have
Toughest
that job.
job in the world.
We did find Sean hiding in the bushes earlier.
That's true. That's true. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
It's
Doing
good to have you back. We grilled Sean about his list of shame in the exclusive pre-show, which patrons have access to, and some shocking movies on that list of shame. We also talked a little bit about Snatched and King Arthur, since we don't have a lot of time in the pod proper to do so. But if you want to check that out, you can be a patron or you can sign up at Mixlr, because the exclusive pre-show happens live every week, and you can listen to it there as well. We're going to have a great show. Lots to talk about, including Alien Covenant, the movie, best ever Ridley Scott films. Of course, we'll do a Sift Quest and some buried treasure, all that kind of fun stuff. Before we get to Do We Care, though, I wanted to check in, Andrew, with you, speaking of lists of shame.
Hello.
Or Sift Shame. Any updates on the movies you've promised to watch that you've never seen?
Yeah, I saw two of the movies that I promised to watch. I saw Wreck-It Ralph and Gone Baby Gone.
Oh, nice. Oh, Gone Baby Gone.
Can't believe both of those were on your list, by the way.
Hey,
you've got room to talk, buddy.
Yeah. You're the one who hasn't seen Frozen.
Oh, God. I didn't even explain that one.
Yeah.
I do want to hear about both of these experiences, maybe just in brief.
Which would you like for me to talk about
Well, I'm
first?
most curious about Gone Baby Gone, because that movie is incredible.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I figured out the twist.
Uh-huh.
I didn't, but the movie has so many twists and turns, I can't say that I figured all of them out.
Well, and it's not really a, typical... it's not like an M. Night Shyamalan twist or anything, just like it's a story
progression.
movement. Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I bet I know where this is going. And then I was right, but then something else happens, and I'm like, what? I thought I was smart, and I figured this movie out. Casey Affleck knocks it out of the park with that one, and if that is Ben Affleck's directorial debut, right?
Yeah, that's
where you realize, okay, this guy's not a Hollywood joke anymore.
Exactly.
Because before then, right, he was the Daredevil in the Pearl Harbor Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
But now he's the Argo in the Gone Baby Gone Ben Affleck and the Town Affleck. Oh, man, that movie was good.
Yeah, it was really good.
And the book is even, 1,000 times better.
Really?
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
What about Wreck-It Ralph?
Oh, it was adorable. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was so good. Right up my alley,
liked it.
Yeah, right up my alley with the humor and everything, and the fact that it deals with video games. I was totally enthralled. I absolutely adored it, and I can't wait to watch that one again.
I was really impressed in that one. I remember specifically thinking they went with real-life video games. Like, they got the rights to a lot of real-life stuff, and I was really impressed with that.
Is that Dr. Robotnik? Is that Bowser? How do they get hold of these people?
Bowser must be busy somewhere, kidnapping a princess.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of? And I don't know why, but it reminded me of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like, how did you get all of these properties to agree to be in one single movie?
Yeah, it's a plethora of IP.
Well, I guess Lego does that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true as well. Of course, Warner has a lot of that, locked in with the DC stuff.
Yeah.
So that's
and Star Wars.
Well, Disney has Star Wars. Right?
No, but I'm saying there was Star Wars stuff in the Lego movie.
Well, that's true. That's true.
That's what I'm saying. They're able to get all these people to say, it's Lego. They can have it in a movie. Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. There's a sequel coming out, I hear.
For Wreck-It
Ralph. Yeah.
There's a sequel for Gone Baby Gone coming out.
In development now.
Yeah, the sequel to Gone Baby Gone is called Found Baby Found.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where that goes.
Yeah, there is a sequel for Wreck-It Ralph, and now that I've seen this one, I could probably go and see this one on day one.
Very nice. All right, so let's do some Do We Care?
Okay. Every single week, I scour the internets to find out what's going on in the entertainment world, and we discuss whether we care about them or not. We actually have 2 weeks worth of news that we can get caught up on,
Sure.
so everything here is interesting.
Yay! I love interesting things.
You have to decide whether you care or not. Number one, Zach McGowan has been cast as World War II Pacific Islander hero Benny Hakaka in the latest bout of Hollywood whitewashing. Zach McGowan is a white actor who is in Black Sails and several other shows.
Wow.
Yep.
It's an issue, right? And it's something to pay attention to. I don't know. I don't know what to do about
I don't know
it's
if
not
there's
like
much more we could say about it that hasn't been said before.
Yeah.
It's something that needs to be addressed, I think, and it's something that we need to be cognizant of. But I don't know that this is any more news relevant to me or head-shakingly infuriating than
the other stories
Iron
that
Fist
have.
Yeah.
Here's what
Doctor Strange.
And I don't mean to get political with it or anything, but why is...
it is inherently a political issue, or can be. It shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah, but why is it that Hollywood always, promotes, their left, ideology, of the liberal... I feel...
I know what you're saying. The impression of Hollywood is that it's on the left coast and that it's very liberal leaning.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to things you might think of as liberal ideals, like, gay marriage or those kind of things,
they
it's
always champion all that stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's on the front lines.
But whenever it comes to their back end and they're, make sure they make money, they always cast white people, which is, a little racist.
Well, don't you think
it's a lot of racist, actually?
But don't you think that's the issue? The issue is
kind of hypocritical.
Is the hypocrisy of capitalism. It's the hypocrisy of serving the dollar over the idea. And whatever creator you are, even us, like creating podcasts, we're all going to deal with minor parts of that kind of issue. Like, do you serve having the biggest audience or serve the passionate thing you want to do? Do you serve making $1 or do you serve, what's inside of you? The art versus commerce argument is always going to be a part of it.
Yeah. It just always seems like the commerce always wins. And
people like money. They like having stuff.
That's true. Money is pretty great. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know how great money is.
That's right.
Okay. Number 2, this is big news, and it's totally awesome. Donald Glover. We all love him, right? Sean already knows what I'm talking about. Donald Glover is bringing to FXX a Deadpool animated series.
Yeah. I'm all for
it. Care bunches.
You care bunches? I care bunches.
I'm all for that. I'll wait to know if it's good or not until after I see it, but I can't imagine.
I think it has everything going for it. It's on FXX. So, if you're unfamiliar, that's like what they decided was too raunchy for FX, which was too raunchy for Fox. So, it's,
in other words, he's got a green light.
He's got a green light, kind of carte blanche, just, no nudity. That's the only rule. So, and I think that, Donald Glover is a genius. What he's been able to do with Atlanta.
But... let me throw this out there.
There's a but.
There's a but coming.
I bet Deadpool would laugh at that.
I bet he would. What have we seen Donald Glover head up that isn't his personal life passion? I'm not saying he doesn't like Deadpool, but Atlanta comes from a really solid personal place, and it's amazing. I'm not saying he can't do it. In fact, I hope he does, and I'm excited to see. But what have we seen him, and maybe I'm missing something, what have we seen him create that comes from a non-personal place that's awesome? Be behind. Has he really been behind anything other than Atlanta? As far as producing?
No, maybe, no, because I was going to say Community, but I don't know how, that's all Dan Harmon, so...
Because he's also behind his hip hop, his rap,
Childish
right?
Gambino.
Childish Gambino, but that's all from a very personal, place as well.
And a stand-up, stand-up is obviously very personal.
Stand-up is personal, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see him do a property, and what he does with that.
I didn't even think about that. I just heard Donald Glover, Deadpool, FXX, and
to be fair,
that's all my 3 food groups right there. So.
And counterpoint, to be fair, I think that someone who has a passion for something, in a nerd sense, can also do great stuff. Like,
absolutely.
If it weren't for the ridiculously crappy writing of Batman versus Superman, okay. And the studio deciding to go in and do what they needed to do to try to turn it into an advertisement for all their other movies instead of just making a good actual movie. Affleck would have done an amazing job there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He loves the material. And what's her name from Atlanta has already been cast as Domino in Deadpool 2. And Donald Glover's about to be in Spider-Man: Homecoming. He has a love affair. He has an affection for the material.
Yeah.
So I think that knowing his personality, not like I know Donald Glover, but what we see of it, does that make sense?
What's on the surface?
What's on the surface?
Sure.
I think there's potential for some awesomeness there. But I
agree,
do understand
totally.
what you're saying completely.
And again, I'm not saying this is a reason it won't work. I'm saying it's a reason I'm curious.
Yeah.
You understand the difference?
Yeah.
Like, I actually think it's going to work. I think he's really smart, and I think he can make it work. I'm just curious to see him do something outside of something very personal.
That's a good point.
So I think it'll be interesting. Very cool.
Number 3, this is actually going to tie into us moving into Alien Covenant.
Cool.
So, Neil Blomkamp, as you know, from District 9, Elysium, and Chappie, Ridley Scott hired him to direct Alien 5.
Oh.
And he just canceled it.
What?
Yeah, Ridley Scott canceled it.
I thought, wait, I'm so confused right now. I thought there were like 2 more Alien movies coming out after.
No, Ridley Scott, they're all prequels.
Right.
Yeah.
So Alien 5 was a sequel?
Yeah, it was a sequel to...
It's all so confusing.
Alien Resurrection, I think, is technically the furthest in the future, which is Alien 4.
Okay.
So Prometheus, Alien Covenant...
And then there'd be 2 more, right?
I think there's only 1 more now.
Oh, I thought, okay.
I think the Alien 5 that Neil Blomkamp was directing, I think that was going to be the second that you were talking about. So, as far as I know, there's only 1 more movie.
Okay.
Alien Awakening. But,
you guys are the Alien experts. I've already admitted that I'm not familiar with the universe very well. So
that's fine. Yeah. That's why we're here. They canceled it. So Ridley, I guess it was in production that Ether, what do they call that? That
pre-production?
Pre-production, like they're just sitting there. Yeah, they're just sitting there in that limbo stage of nothing moving forward, nothing progressing. So Ridley Scott pulled the plug on it, which is unfortunate.
Well, I mean, he's taking care of his property. I really don't have a problem with pulling the plug on movies, especially at that stage.
Interestingly enough, though, because I didn't seen that they canceled it. I just pulled some news on it, and it says that Scott wants to pull the movie until he's finished making Prometheus 2. So I'm wondering if he's decided that there is some storyline arcing and things that he wants to develop.
Prometheus 2? Does that come between Prometheus and Covenant?
I don't know.
I'm so confused.
Aaron, any questions?
I want my movies in a straight line.
Tell that to Star Wars.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Any questions you have about the Alien universe, Aaron, you feel free to ask.
I will absolutely let you know.
Okay.
Actually, it's one of my favorite things about the Alien universe is the universe aspect of it. It really feels like Ridley Scott knows what he's doing, so it'll be interesting.
Yep. That's going to wrap it up for Do We Care?
All right, let's talk about Alien Covenant.
We're making history here.
This is wheat. What are the odds of finding human vegetation this far from Earth?
Who planted it? You hear that?
What?
Nothing. No birds. No animals. Nothing.
Bound for a remote planet on the far side of the galaxy, members of the colony ship The Covenant discover what they think to be an uncharted paradise. While there, they meet David, the synthetic survivor of the doomed Prometheus expedition. The mysterious world soon turns dark and dangerous, imagine that, when a hostile alien life form forces the crew into a deadly fight for survival. back into the Alien universe, and more of the Alien universe proper, because when Prometheus came out, I remember a lot of Alien fans were like, well, it ties in, but it's not really an Alien movie.
Loosely.
Yeah,
loosely.
It's loosely an Alien movie. Does this movie, let me start here before we get into liked it, loved it, it was okay, didn't like it, hated it. Is this movie make you think Prometheus is more connected, or is it the same just level of, well, loosely connected? Because I feel like it ties it in more.
Yeah, but at the same time, I still don't like Prometheus.
You just want to ignore it?
No, I don't want to ignore it. It's just I've seen it, I understand the message, and I'm done with it.
Right. Okay.
If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
I feel like the events of this movie, there were some things put in this movie and some things written into this movie that do pull Prometheus into the fold. And I honestly feel like as good as this movie is as its own entity, a part of the Aliens franchise, I almost feel like those parts were put in there for the specific purpose of helping tie Prometheus into it. Prometheus felt like a different movie where they added a couple scenes, one in the middle and one at the end, to let people who didn't have any idea go, oh, this is part of that Alien movie thing?
Right.
Because outside of that, there's no concept of its relevance
But
in
that's
the Alien.
But that's kind of real life, though. You know what I mean? Like, things that turn into something big start, in the shadows is something small. And so I kind of like that Prometheus tells the, like, ultimate origin story of this universe and, like, really how things, began and started. So I think it connects it all right. Well, let's do it. Liked it, loved it, it was okay, disliked it, or hated it. We're going to start with Sean.
I loved it.
Loved it. Okay. Andrew?
I liked it.
Andrew liked it. I thought it was okay. Maybe a smidge toward liked it, but mostly it was just okay.
I should say I'm barely in liked it, but it's enough to where I can't say I liked it.
Okay, good. I liked it more than Prometheus.
Yeah.
But I actually liked Prometheus more than most people. There were some things in there I really liked. But again, that comes from a person who's not a huge Alien fan, so I didn't have any of the, this isn't Alien enough, kind of stuff going with it. In fact, the stuff I did and didn't like about Prometheus are almost the same as the stuff I did and didn't like about Alien Covenant. We can get further into that. There are a few differences, but for the most part. Let's talk about the stuff we liked. Since you loved it, Sean, why don't you go off? Tell us a little bit why it was so amazing to you.
It made me forget a little bit about Prometheus and how much I disliked it.
So you hated Prometheus?
I didn't like Prometheus. And I mean, it was beautiful. Okay.
So how is this different?
Because it was about, it came back to this storyline. It came back to, the xenomorphs and their entomology and their beginning, right? More so than just telling the origins of civilization side, but their beginning and how we got to where we are. And it put some things into place that I've actually wondered about the entire series. So it added some context there that I really enjoyed. I liked being able to see that behind the scenes stuff. We got to see David again, and that was great for me. When I found out that Fassbender was going to be playing both Walter and David in the movie, I was super excited about what that was going to mean for the storyline and the characters. And I think they did a fantastic job. And then also I really was really eager to see a xenomorph on the screen again. It was time to see a good, representation of one after Alien Resurrection and some of the other trash that we've been exposed to within the Alien universe, parts of Alien 3. So I was excited to see a new Alien movie and one that was actually about, the aliens themselves. So I did like it. I liked the cast. I liked many of the characters. There were only a few. And what's funny is the disposable characters, the one I honestly didn't really care about. They're all the ones who were treated in that exact way. They, they disappeared off screen.
But there were a lot of characters.
There were.
That was a high level of difficulty.
I'm
going to talk about that in cons.
Yeah, I actually thought they pulled it off all right.
I thought so too.
I found myself understanding who was related to who, kind of what their personality types were. I felt like they had one thing. Some movies, Life, that just came out recently, which is also kind of an alien type movie. The one with Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds.
I've not seen Life yet.
I liked it.
So, yeah, but the thing that Life didn't do that I felt like this one did is it didn't give its characters distinct personality. The only one that really had it was Ryan Reynolds, and that's because he's Ryan Reynolds, and you can't take the personality out of Ryan Reynolds. This movie, I felt like, he's the cowboyish one, and, they're the couple that's, always saying lovey-dovey things to each other. Like I was able to identify them as human beings, I felt like in this a little bit better.
Wow,
so
I disagree.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
I will say that I have always been a champion of comedic actors taking on dramatic roles.
Mm-hmm.
I think Danny McBride is great in this movie.
No, I did too. I thought he was great.
Was so good.
Very much
and
so.
He's just another example of, that totally working. And like you said, what Michael Fassbender is asked to do in this movie is very difficult, and I think he did a great job of pulling it off. I thought he did a really good job. My big pro for this movie is this film does go more in-depth into the origin of xenomorphs, and normally I don't like that because I think the mystery behind that actually makes those creatures more terrifying. Having said that, though, I think they pulled it off in a very interesting way.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
I agree. And there's some thought-provoking stuff in the way that they pulled it off, which we'll get more into in spoilers, I'm sure.
We got a lot to discuss in spoilers.
I like everything you guys have said. I agree with those positives. And in fact, like the beautiful movie thing, that was both Prometheus and this one. Like I thought both of them were absolutely gorgeous movies.
That's Ridley. I will say, though, I wish that he implemented more practical effects. Because he does, do big, realistic practical effects.
He's so good at them.
His sets are, but I wish that his creature practical effects were implemented more.
Yeah, I'll get to that in cons.
The other thing you mentioned that I loved in Prometheus and also loved in this one is Fassbender. He was the best thing about Prometheus as well. His performance in Prometheus was great too. I think he steps it up a level here. Obviously, he's doing double duty.
Yeah,
but he's so good.
I haven't seen anything I don't like him in, and the specific reason I chose not to see the Assassin's Creed movie is because I don't want to see something that tarnishes my image of Fassbender, and I don't want to see something that sullies what was a great game to me. But Ubisoft's already tanked it in the last 3 versions, but I'm just saying, I like Fassbender. I don't want to have that tarnished.
Any other pros that you guys wanted to bring out?
Cinematography.
I totally agree. Cinematography,
yeah, it's just gorgeous
so
all the way around, yeah.
Cons?
No, let me talk a little bit about, and you guys kind of mentioned this, but it was my other big pro. And I think specifically you mentioned it with the xenomorph stuff. I just think he's doing such a great job at building this universe.
Yeah.
Like at understanding, you went into this movie, it's like, oh yeah, we're in the alien universe. Like the ships, the travel, the people. There's an interesting part about the characters in alien movies where they just seem so real and human. And I think a lot of that, in my opinion, came from Aliens, the sequel. I think Cameron's really good at that kind of stuff, and he made it feel like a band of brothers, kind of thing where they are going, they're going on this journey together and this adventure together, but they're also like ripping on each other and, just doing the things that human beings do.
Right.
And this movie had that too, and I thought that was, that was really cool. So just kind of building the universe.
I don't know if you know this or not, Aaron, but there was actually a couple of YouTube, like a mini-series of the crew interacting with each other. So
before the movie came out.
Oh, really?
Out. Yeah, they were really good. And it makes me sad that they didn't heavily promote them and tell you go watch them, because they added a ton to exactly what you just loved.
Oh, that's cool.
Movie.
There are characters in Alien Covenant that you're like, well, why would that character even bother being in this movie? It's because
I didn't recognize that though. I didn't notice that though. I didn't think that about any of the characters.
Well, there's one actor in particular, wow.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, now I know exactly who you're talking about. Yes,
in the miniseries, they're very prominent.
Oh, that does make more sense.
Yeah, it's worth going and watching. It's worth going and
watching.
Well,
I'm glad that I didn't feel like I had to have that.
Right.
To get to know these characters. But because I don't like that when a movie's like, well, you need to do all this homework first before you come to the movie.
Matrix. You gotta watch the
Animatrix.
And you gotta play the video game. Yeah.
So anyways, we can move into cons now.
Okay.
One more pro.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The Neomorphs. I absolutely loved seeing this tying into this whole origin story, this genesis of this creature.
Yeah.
We've never truly gotten to see a neomorph before, and not like this. They were fantastic. And the tension, I thought he did really good, but it felt like it dropped off at a certain point. And I don't want to go into spoilers, but there was a scene towards the beginning of the movie where I was already like gripping my seat, and I was like, oh my God. Oh crap. It's getting like bad. And I wasn't terrified like I was with Alien. Okay. But I was tense a lot of the time, and he did a good job of that.
Let's move into cons then, because I want to address that. I think there's some good tension towards the beginning of this movie, and then I may be in the minority on this. I got bored through the last half of this movie.
Bad pacing.
And that's why I said it kind of dropped off for me.
And here's the reason why, and it's so different than usually why I get bored. I think there's too much. I think the movie chooses to focus too much on the gore elements, on the kills, on those kind of the things that Alien is known for. Yeah. There's just too many of them, and it just becomes noise at some point. Like, if you intersperse like maybe 2 or 3 of them,
right?
But that last half of the movie, it was like, oh, this person's dying in a graphic way, and this person's dying in a graphic way, and this person's dying, and I was just like, give me back to the talking parts. I want to hear more of the intellectual stuff.
It becomes the final destination of Alien.
Yes.
Like, how can we show this person be eliminated?
Except it's unaware of it. See, Final Destination is aware that it's doing that.
Yeah, intentionally.
Right, yeah.
Like, look at the next creative thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah.
So I started to get a little bored. That was one of my big cons.
Here's my big con. I was hoping that this film would return to the original realm of the first Alien movie, where it was a horror film. These are suspense thrillers.
Yeah.
They're not horror films anymore.
And they almost painted it as one in the marketing.
The marketing had
it was supposed to be
we're
scary
going back to the
heck.
Original horror. Because I think only the very first Alien movie is the only horror one.
Scare the crap out of
Because
them.
James Cameron's Alien is an action movie.
Correct.
Which I like Aliens more than I like Alien, but that's a discussion for a different time.
Me too.
They both serve their genres extremely well.
But whenever I'm being told, hey, this is going back to Alien 1, where it's going to scare you like no other. Don't get me wrong. H.R. Geiger, is that his name?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
His creature design, it's one of the it's giving me so many nightmares.
Yeah.
Xenomorphs, I've had so many xenomorph nightmares. I can't even count them all. But man, it's so terrifying, and I hope that they're not thinking the creature itself is scary enough. We don't need to build the terror around it. But because I think maybe it was because in the first Alien movie they're in a confined space, and it can be anywhere, and maybe it's because it takes place on a planet. You kind of have a sense of, well, I don't know how close this thing is to me, so it's not confined, and maybe I'm a little bit more relaxed that way. So I don't know if they were relying on that, but I was really hoping for a horror film.
And I think I think that's what they were trying to do with all the gore. Like, I think they maybe mistook that there's something more to creating a real tense horror experience than the gore and than just, the kills. And so I just think there's a movie buried. This is another part of the frustration for me. There's a movie buried in there that I would love. And it's a more thoughtful exploration of some of the themes that they're dealing with. Prometheus had this as well. It was my main negative with Prometheus. It touches on really deep stuff and then just leaves it alone.
Yeah.
And it's like, go a little deep, like, take your time to take your time to weave that in better so that we're really thinking about it all the way through. Yeah. There is this movie, Alien Covenant. There's a beautiful allegory about the devil in this movie. They even mention it in some of the lines, and it's right there waiting for them to really go after, and they just walk away, and they just walk away from it. And I'm like, that's the movie I wanted to see. Enough of the exploding body parts. I want to see that.
Are you talking about the I Met When I Was Young man?
Without getting into spoilers, right when that scene started to happen that you're mentioning, where they physically talk about it, I got super excited because I was like, oh, this is going to get dark. And, and then all of a sudden it turned back into the shock or, oh, someone's dying.
But see, Prometheus was the same way. It had this beautiful theme about God and creation. And then this one could have been perfectly counterpointed with the devil and destruction. And it just didn't go there enough to really pull it off. And I don't know if that's just a matter of not wanting to. That's not the movie they wanted to make.
It's left subtly under the surface throughout various scenes throughout the rest of the movie, including the final scene with David. But once again, like you said, it's like they just tucked it back under the sheet and they left it. And it's like, oh my God, no, there is something truly scary there that you could have been exploring and delving into.
Truly deep and thought-provoking. Yep. So, and again, that's my thing. Like that's one of my favorite things is movies when they make me think. So, so obviously I'm going to miss that. But yeah, that was probably my main negative. Any other cons that you guys wanted to get into?
One more.
I thought they could have, and I think Andrew and I talked about this last night. I thought they could have gotten through the movie. This is going to sound so nitpicky, okay? But they could have gotten through the movie without any of the nudity. There was no need. It was like it was there for its sake of it.
Well, but that goes back to the gore stuff too. You know, it's all in that same like B movie schlock horror kind of playbook. You know.
Yeah.
I just realized something.
What's that?
You never see the xenomorph kill anybody in the first Alien movie. It's all off screen.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The only is the chest burster. That's the only time you see the xenomorph kill anybody. It's all off screen. I never realized that. I
never would have thought about it.
Well, there you go. That's that can be the difference. You can misequate the horror with actually seeing it, and that's not. It's not about that. It's about filling in the blanks yourself. Sometimes too. Sometimes that's much more scary. You know. Yeah.
Like you'll see the alien grab somebody and like take them away in the first,
or lift them up, and then you're like, and then you see blood come down.
Yeah, and then you see
just
a cat.
Don't know. Yeah.
But
interesting.
Here's my final con.
Yeah.
And this is actually, I disagree with something you guys said earlier about the cast.
Sure.
Besides one or two characters in this film, you don't really get to know or care about any of the other people. So I think that's a wasted opportunity. I think that if I knew these people and I understood their backstory more, that I would feel a more sense of dread whenever something was happening around them because I care about them. If they're just red shirts, then I'm like, well, if they die, then it's no big to me.
Sure.
You're not going to get me with the jump scare from a xenomorph that's happened too many times. So if I care about them, I'm like, oh, don't go around that corner. I care about you. Oh, they're going, but it's a red shirt going around the corner. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to get to see a big old blood splatter.
I totally understand what you're saying, and I've made that point about other movies. I think the reason these characters connected with me more, there are a couple ways you can connect with a character through backstory.
Yeah.
Because you know what it's about? It's about common experience, right? So if you look at a backstory and go, oh, I know somebody who's been through that, or I've been through that, I know what that's like. That's real emotion in you based on something you've experienced. You can also connect to characters through empathy, through another character caring about them. So you borrow what they love about them. And that's where this movie got me. Because everybody in this ship is like a couple. You know, and so there's always somebody who is hurting in a way that I understand how painful that would be.
Well, maybe,
do you understand what I mean? So,
I totally get what you're saying. Maybe it's just from a performance standpoint, but whenever, let's say there was a quote-unquote loss of somebody, I didn't feel that except for a couple times on the other end. There's only two characters that I'm thinking about, and I think there's the two that I care about, where whenever they lost something, I was like, oh, I feel it. But there were others, whenever there was a loss for them, I'm like, eh.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand.
So
that makes sense. You guys want to do one last thing, and then we'll move on?
Continuity!
Do you need to wait till spoilers to talk about that more?
My last con was foreshadowing. I think there was a little too much telegraphing of some of the quote-unquote like surprises in the movie. I don't know. I think that takes something away from me. I feel like, and I'm not, this coming from the guy who doesn't catch half the stuff that like deep movie files do, right? They're like, oh, did you catch that subtext that relates to an Ayn Rand book and that one obscure Byron? And I'm like, no, no, I saw a guy taking a dump in that movie. You know what I mean? So like I miss a lot of stuff, but there was so many things that I saw in this movie. I'm like, oh, you could have been more subtle about it and not basically just let the whole audience in what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. You know, and I talked with Roper about it at the end, but there's some shots in it, and I guess that might be nitpicky, but there's some individual shots where they focus on a particular item, and you're like, oh, that's going to come into play later.
Right, yeah.
You know, and then there's a scene, and I'm like, oh, dude, you just totally gave something away, and now we know what's going to happen, and I just don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know exactly what you're talking about. We'll talk about it in spoilers, I'm sure. They're kind of in a rough place with what they're doing with this story to have it be a big surprise, like a big twist or a surprise or those kind of things. It would have been difficult to do. I think, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I kind of knew that was coming from the beginning of the movie. in many ways. Maybe we're talking about different things, but I know we don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. My one more thing is the music. I love the music in these movies. Prometheus was the same way.
I didn't notice it.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great score. Is the one you don't notice, but it informs you. So, I think and I don't even know who does it. Do you know who did the score for these movies?
No.
Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah,
and
look
I
it
can
up
act smart.
because I'd like to give him props. Because
Jed Kurzel.
well, way to go, man. Nobody else noticed, but I did. Jed, is it Jed or Judd?
Jed.
All right, I got it right. Before we move on to the best ever challenge, do want to let you know about patreon.com/studiodna. It is the way you can support this podcast network and get access to some stuff that you may not have access to anywhere else. Starts at $3 a month, and when you hear us talk about like the pre-show and Sean's Sift Shame, where he admits movies he hadn't seen, those kind of things, all of that is in the Patreon podcast feed. You get your own separate podcast feed where everything from all the podcasts on the network shows up, and you can listen to the ones you want to. If you want to sign up, go to patreon.com/studiodna, and thank you for supporting this podcast network. All right, let's do a best ever challenge, guys.
Mazas.
Let's do best ever Ridley Scott movies. I was thinking he's actually got quite a filmography, so you've got a lot to choose from. But there are some that stand out above the rest when I was looking at them.
You know what? Here's what I realized about Ridley Scott. He is the greatest meh director of all time, and his movies are so meh, except for like 5, which are some of the greatest movies of all time. The rest of them are total mez.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah, let's go through some of these, and we'll start at number 3, work our way to number 1. Again, if you've got something higher, feel free to yell Trump, and we'll wait to talk about it until it hits its highest mark on somebody's list. I'll start this time.
Okay.
My number 3 is Black Hawk Down.
Same.
All of us had Black Hawk Down as number 3?
Yeah.
Are we all going to have the same list?
We better not.
Maybe.
Well, let's talk about it then. Go ahead, guys. This is a great movie.
Yeah, and what I found was, I looked it up earlier, I didn't realize, because it's been a hot minute since I've seen the movie, everybody in this movie is an A-list actor before they were an A-list actor.
Right?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Did you guys know Tom Hardy was in this movie?
Yeah.
Whoa! It is my favorite modern war film.
It's also, I can't think of another movie that I don't dislike Josh Hartnett in.
Oh, interesting.
It's my,
Really?
Josh Hartnett's not terrible movie. So
This and Lucky Number 11.
Sorry. Yeah. Lucky Number 11's on my top 10
Now I've got to
time.
look. Now I've got to look and see what Hartnett's been in.
Yeah.
Well,
he's
in
super good in Slevin.
He's in the that one show that just ended, the horror show that had anyway. Sorry, yeah. Man, I cared about every single one of those characters in that movie. The character development in that was on point.
Yeah, that's
so
good stuff.
It has so many things going for it. Number one, it's exceptionally well directed. It's gorgeous. I mean, the cinematography, the way it's filmed is beautiful. It's got grit, but it's also very well shot. But it has going for it that it's one of the U.S.'s greatest tragedies in wartime.
Yeah.
And so it touches people on a deep level because if you have family or friends who are service members, if you are an ex-service member, it hits to the core of what we go through or have gone through with that disconnect between the people who make decisions and the people who have to enforce those decisions, and how hard that is and what happens to people in the middle. So
yeah, all that stuff is there. It's absolutely incredible.
The best part of that movie is the sound design, because if you notice, whenever there's a gunshot, they filmed the movie in a certain way where if there was a gunshot behind you, they recorded the audio for gunfire from every conceivable angle from every single gun that is used in the movie. So if it's from behind you from like 40 yards...
So they could truly place it in the surround sound.
Audio.
Wow, that's really cool. I didn't know that.
That's cool.
All right, on to number 2. Should I just go again then?
Yeah.
Or should we move over
Just
to you,
go.
Andrew,
I'm
and let
just
you do
gonna
your
see
number?
you go ahead. Same page.
All right, fine, all right. My number 2 is The Martian.
That's number 2. You better not have my number 1.
It's in my honorable mentions.
Okay.
The Martian.
So Sean and I had The Martian at number 2.
What do you have?
Well, we all have the same number one. I guarantee we all
have to. We have to.
Yeah.
I love The Martian. This is one of those movies that is so rewatchable, so fun, so interesting. Actually going to play into our Sift Quest today, which I think is appropriate since it's a Ridley Scott film.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I know I'm supposed to be the movie guy. This just happens sometimes. When I saw this on the Ridley Scott list, I was like, what? Ridley Scott directed The Martian? Like, it totally gone over my head. And
I only knew because I read the book, and the book was chillingly amazing. Yeah. And when I found out they were making a movie, I'm like, who the heck are they going to put in directing this? And then when I found out, I was like, okay, all will be well.
It's just one of those blind spot, things that happens where you just never hear that information or realize it. And I'm supposed to know it, but
doesn't really feel like a Ridley Scott movie.
No, that's the thing. That's why I was surprised. I was like, it's a way funnier than most Ridley Scott movies. Like,
the humor is huge.
There's so much humor in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
And if you think about a Ridley Scott movie, you think about, giant, grandiose, like giant sets and everything.
Yeah.
This is a very confined, small movie.
Two sets.
Yeah.
Minus the outdoor stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
My number two, then?
Well, Sean, did you have any further thoughts on it since it was your number two as well?
I love The Martian. The book is exceptional. If you haven't read the book, it's exceptional. Martin Weir, I believe, wrote the book.
Andy
Weir, and it's absolutely exceptional. So it's one of those things I think everybody should read. It's got something for everybody. So seeing it come to the screen, I was very excited and slightly trepidatious, and then I heard they cast Matt Damon, and I was like, I'm not sure what to think,
I was the exact
because I'm
same
picturing
boat.
Jason Bourne, and I'm like, I don't picture him playing, this character. And after I saw the movie, I couldn't picture anyone else playing it. It was just so well done. So yeah, awesome movie.
It is also the movie with the most creative swearing for a PG-13 movie of all time.
Yes, intelligently used swearing.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. All right, what's your number two, Andrew?
Alien.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that was definitely in my honorable mentions.
One of my favorite horror movies ever, because I hate horror films.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's one of the best sci-fi films of all time too. Yeah. Sigourney Weaver.
I was gonna say it's so much of that is on Sigourney, right? Like, she's so incredible in that movie.
Yeah, it's her movie, and for the simple fact that it was the first time for me as a young man whenever this movie came out in 80. I can't remember, 88, was it?
It's been a hot minute, that's for sure.
But it was the first time I saw a BA woman, like, oh, she
79.
kicks butt.
79.
79, okay, yeah. So
3 years, I was only 3.
Yeah. So I was like, she is kicking butt. Girls can't kick butts, because I'm like, 8 years old when I see this movie? But then after that, I'm like, oh, yeah, they can. And then Aliens came out, and she got in a giant robot, and she kicked even more butt, and she delivers... I know that's not a Ridley Scott movie, but she delivers one of the most awesome lines in sci-fi history.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I'm like, this woman is awesome. So thank you, Sigourney Weaver, for the
curing Andrew's young sexism.
Yeah. Hopefully there would have been other movies that did that, but nope, it was Alien that did it.
Or just awesome women, in your life that could show you.
Yeah.
That's definitely a good one. So it's time for number one then.
We all have the same one.
It's got to be Gladiator, right?
Gladiator.
Are you kidding? You are out of your minds. It's on my honorable mention list.
Oh my goodness, I know what yours is now, but that was one of the funniest moments ever. Just to give you a picture, Sean had his arms up. He was ready for us all to say the same movie.
Were you going to say Matchstick Men?
No, he's going to say Blade Runner. He's going to say Blade Runner.
I don't like Blade Runner.
I know you don't, but it's literally a masterpiece. Like, do you realize that there are courses at almost every film school in this country? Entire courses that are taught on Blade Runner.
Oh my goodness, that was so much fun.
They also have courses for The Room starring Tommy Wiseau. That doesn't mean that it's a great movie.
I can't make any excuses for that trash. But oh my God. Okay, so Gladiator was on my honorable mention list.
Good,
it was hard not to put it in my top 3.
I'm surprised.
Because I am such a fan of it. It's actually the only movie that I own on regular DVD, Blu-ray, and someplace stashed away is a special edition Criterion, Ultimate DVD
those
of it.
Criterion
because I kept
collections.
buying that movie. I couldn't watch it enough, and It is the only movie soundtrack that is on every computer and device in my home. That
what a great soundtrack.
The music from that it's transformational for me.
My son was listening to that soundtrack the other day, and I was like, is this Gladiator? And he was like, yeah, the soundtrack's incredible. He's never even seen the movie, but he just,
really?
Yeah, he loved the soundtrack.
And it's the only action movie I've ever wept at.
Yeah, so powerful.
No, not me. I've wept.
It's got. I mean,
cry and everything.
It has some problems. The Gladiator is not a perfect film,
but it doesn't have to be exceptional.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there is Russell Crowe is incredible in it. The themes are amazing. It hit me in all the right places.
Yeah, the action is well done.
Best CGI for the time ever.
Yeah,
and I'm saying that because of Oliver Reed. What happened
from the
with
tiger
him?
Scene.
No, I'm talking about Oliver Reed. The guy who plays Proximo.
Oh yeah.
He died halfway through that movie, so they CGI'd his face.
Oh wow!
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Did you couldn't tell that was a CGI face, could you? That's what I'm saying. The amount of for the time, that's beyond Uncanny Valley.
Better than Rogue One.
Better than Rogue One.
Better than Fast 8.
Yeah.
Did you know that Oliver Reed and Russell Crowe hated each other? And
I did not.
There were times whenever neither of them could stand on set with each other. So as soon as they were done with their scenes, they just walked away. They hated each other so much.
There are a lot of those stories, man.
Yeah, but no,
Devos.
We can spoil Gladiator, right?
If you don't know what happened in the movie, 18 years old.
Yeah.
Whenever they run over his son with a horse at the beginning of that movie, I didn't know you could do that in movies. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
And then they burned him. Oh.
Yeah, I
Talk
was
about an
filled with
emotional
rage in the theater.
roller coaster that movie takes you on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I'll say this. Joaquin Phoenix, one of the greatest villains of all time in that movie.
Yeah.
So badass.
Because normally whenever you think about a villain, you think about this powerful, strong, opposing force. He's a whiny
little brat
that you hate so much, and he nails it. Oh, he's so good.
You know what? He set the stage for what's his name in Game of Thrones?
I thought you were going to say Kylo Ren.
No, he set the stage for the boy Prince in Game of Thrones. I can't think of his name right now. But yeah, that's the only other time I could think of somebody who was such a whiny little wuss, who was so evil and good at being evil, even though he was a crybaby.
Yeah. So talk about Blade Runner.
I'm curious what about me. The second that I poo-pooed Gladiator, you were like, I know what yours is, but let me tell people what happened. So how did you know Blade Runner was my number one?
Well, it's the only other one. It's the only other one that I could see somebody putting as their number one Ridley Scott movie.
It's his 5 films, and then everything else is meh.
I was, even looking at my honorable mentions, there's no way you're putting Thelma and Louise as your number one movie
or Matchstick
Man.
Man.
Right? Yeah. So, I knew it had to be Blade Runner. Also, it's in my honorable mention. It's a great movie.
I looked at the list, and I too was shocked at the number of movies that I love, that or thoroughly enjoyed that are Ridley Scott movies. But getting to Blade Runner is magical for me. When I saw it, I was a kid. I wasn't supposed to be watching it. My parents didn't allow that kind of film. I grew up. I was a hotel bat. My father was a corporate head. My stepdad was a corporate head for Hyatt. So we traveled around. So I lived in 26 states.
Oh wow!
And so we traveled all the time. And I had my own room in the hotel. They had these suites for whatever the executive staff. But I had my own room, and in it was always a television. And of course, it's the hotel. So we had Showtime and HBO. And I caught Blade Runner when I was a kid, and knew that I shouldn't be watching it. And from that moment on, I think there was already a tenseness to it. This is so cool, and I'm not supposed to see it.
Right.
But it's Harrison Ford. Okay. It's Sean Young. It's gritty, and it's dark, and it's the way it's filmed is so cool. And the characters and the themes in it, and then there's the eternal debate. I mean, one of the only other movie that has ever had as big of a community of people getting into fist fights over it is Who Shot First, Han or Greedo?
Right.
That's it.
Both Harrison Fords.
Yeah, and both Harrison Ford movies. And so it's pure magic for me. I went nuts. I'm spinning in circles in my office when the Blade Runner 2049 full trailer dropped in pure excitement, because
you're excited for it.
Oh God, I got all the same goosebumps and stuff watching the whole movie of Blade Runner just from the trailer. It looks fantastic. And it looks to be, the trailer looks to make it the greatest Ridley Scott film of all time.
Even though he's not directing it.
Yeah. It's like,
is Harrison Ford in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know to what extent, for how much, if it's everything we see in the trailer is what we're going to see in the movie or not, I don't care.
Yeah.
But it looks amazing. So Blade Runner has always had a very, very close place in my heart. It's a divisive movie, I understand. But it deals with a theme that is one of my favorite in all of cinema. And it's explored in a bunch of movies, some better than others, AI. So like, you know what I mean? But there's something magical about it that will always mean a lot to me. And it's my favorite Ridley Scott movie.
Honorable mention, we already talked, we mentioned at least Matchstick Men, Thelma and Louise, certainly deserve a mention. One that I don't know anybody else would put on their honorable mention, but I did, was Body of Lies. Did you guys see Body of Lies?
That's the Russell Crowe, Leonardo DiCaprio, right?
Very
fun
good.
movie.
Yeah,
Fun
I think
movie.
it's a great movie. So that might be one to check out if you haven't seen it. Other than that, I did, you're right. A lot of the other ones are just kind of like,
If they're not, they're bad. Like Exodus, bad movie.
Exodus is terrible.
How did that happen?
There's a lot of movies I really like, but I didn't love from him. Like, I really liked them. And when I was going on the list, I'm like, oh, I love that movie. That movie was great. That one was so awesome.
And then there's
Exodus, I showed up and I'm like, oh, God, I can't believe he was responsible for that.
Yeah.
I'd like to mention,
everybody's gonna have their
even though
mistakes.
I keep saying that his movies can be meh, both Alien and Gladiator are in my top 100 movies of all time.
Oh, nice.
So Alien is number 67 and Gladiator is number 27.
And how is Legend not in your top 5?
All right.
I'm the only person in this room who owns Legend on Blu-ray. I'm just going to put that out there.
You are the only person.
80s fantasy movies are a thing for me.
I don't mean to correct you. You said room. I think you meant state.
Probably country.
No, I was just going with you are the only person.
All right, let's move on to the Sift Quest. This is where you send in your questions, your debates, whatever you want us to answer. You can do that via email, feedback@siftpop.com, or you can do that at Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. You can tweet me there with your questions. We've got one from So the Dane on Twitter this week, and it's a debate. He was having a debate with a friend about the movie The Martian. And he says, I've got a debate you can settle. Is The Martian a science fiction movie? Aside from it being on Mars, it's very possible. So the question being, what makes something a science fiction movie? Now, first, we'll solve your debate. We will vote, and we will absolutely come down on one side or the other. And then we'll talk a little bit more about genres. So who wants to go first?
I will.
Yeah, what do you think, Andrew?
Yes.
It is a sci-fi movie.
Yes.
Now, why do you say that?
So, literally, I have two. Literally, it is a science fiction movie, and it is also a sci-fi movie, because some of the elements in that movie, we don't know at this point in time how to scientifically make them a reality. So,
right. Even just traveling to Mars, there's science fiction in that, right?
I actually downloaded the actual definition for sci-fi film.
Okay, good.
If we could talk about it. Do you want to talk about that now or later?
No,
on?
go ahead.
Okay, so this is from the internet, your most reliable source for fake
Of all
news.
information ever.
Yeah. Here is the definition for a sci-fi film. A genre that uses speculative, fictional, science-based depictions of phenomena that are not fully accepted by mainstream science, such as extraterrestrial life forms, alien worlds, extrasensory perception and time travel, along with futuristic elements such as spacecraft, robots, cyborgs, interstellar travel, or other technologies.
Okay.
Yeah, just that last part. Just that last part, though,
Hey, that's all it takes.
Yeah. So would you say the same thing, Sean?
Based on the definition, yeah, I'd have to agree.
Yeah,
because it does deal with a lot of tech that does not exist currently, and things that we are currently in the process of trying to develop, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So, and it is 100% a science-based film.
So can you get specific with me? I agree, by the way. That was my answer as well, that it's science fiction, and I was thinking specifically because of the space travel. Like we can't do that kind of space travel yet. But what specifically about it, like a specific thing, is not possible right now?
I know some things, unless you're talking right now, so I don't want to cut you off.
No. Some of the stuff that occurred while he's on Mars and his minor terraforming operation.
No, that's all plausible.
I was going to say, that seemed to me like they were trying to use real science with that stuff.
The thing that I'm talking about now is we don't know how to get to Mars without somebody dying of cancer on the way over there, because there's so many rays, radiation, like going through space.
Really?
Oh, yeah, that's all space is radiation.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I never heard that.
You have to find a way to, protect the astronauts from, like, dying of radiation as they go through space, because that stuff radiation will go through the ship.
But wait, how can people be on the
It's a time thing. The amount of time
people
that
are
you're
on the space station for years.
I think that the space station is like lead lined.
Oh, I don't know.
I could be wrong, but I've heard that going through like deep space, and also isn't the space station in orbit?
It could be. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah, the space station has to be in orbit.
So it's in orbit. So there we go. And also the.
But why would being in orbit matter?
Because I don't think you're out far enough. I don't know. Science.
That's science. It's all science.
Yeah, but also the amount of like bone you would lose, because there's
loss of bone
density is the other major thing.
Yeah, they'd have to figure out gravity. I think that's the main one.
Gravity is the thing, because once you're on Mars as well,
Well, and that's a good specific one too, because there are gravity in those spaceships.
Yeah.
They've figured out some, sort of artificial gravity, which I don't think we have, right? The only thing we have is the spinning.
No,
but you can't do that in travel. How long
was he there again?
Over a year, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, ask anybody who has watched any documentary on NASA, they'll tell you that gravity sickness is actually a legitimate disease that astronauts who spend a long time in those environments or regularly shift between them experience. It causes some changes in not only density but in the tissue itself. And just to support Andrew's claim, Because Science, the Smithsonian published an article last year that says that radiation is the primary problem for any mission to Mars because it has more to do with the route that we would have to take.
Okay.
With its proximity to a number of fields of radiation. And then the further we go out, the strength of those fields. And so those cosmic rays zip through the galaxy at near light speeds while solar activity produces a more subdued form of radiation. So we're not as prone to it here because it's mostly solar and that pushes the radiation out. But some of the others are more severe.
I didn't know I was going to get a science lesson today. It's amazing.
I scienced the crap out of that.
I love it.
Thank you, So the Dane, for that question. We appreciate it.
Didn't get your answer.
Good. And had he not asked that question, it would have still been a drama to me. Because to me, that's what that's all about is,
Yeah, you can kind of understand where the other person is coming from, calling it a drama more than sci-fi.
Yeah.
I think
once he raised that question, I'm like, yeah, I guess
maybe
it is
for the simple fact that, it's riding that line of being so close to a reality that I could understand somebody saying, no, that's not science fiction because we're so close to making it a reality. But until that day, it's still fiction.
Yeah, true.
It's really interesting because we talked about genre even when we were talking about Alien Covenant, about how, is it a horror movie or is it a suspense movie? And I think when it comes to genre, it's not like it's a debate that has to be settled. It is what it is. It's really just for describing it to someone else, right? Isn't that what genre is for? It's so you can know, this is in a category of movies I usually enjoy or usually don't enjoy. I mean, what other purpose does genre have other than like sorting your library, maybe? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, film can be more than one genre.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Most are.
That's like the old 6-9 thing, like if you're standing on the floor and there's a number 6, and if you're standing on either side of it, it's a 9. Just because I'm right doesn't mean you're wrong.
Perception. It's all about perception.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, or with the 6 blind men and the elephant. Each of them describing what an elephant is, but they're all, holding different things. So,
what was the name of the person who asked that question?
So the Dane on Twitter @So the Dane.
So the Dane, I hope that you were a yayer on that one, and I hope that we backed your claim
because we have officially decided.
Yeah,
debate is settled.
Science fiction film.
The Martian is a science fiction movie.
Hope we helped you out.
If you'd like to offer up a Sift quest for us to go on, you can do that via Twitter or email feedback@siftpop.com. Or you can hit me up on Twitter. I'm Aaron Dicer. Also, messing around with Anchor.fm. If you want to subscribe to the Siftpop channel on Anchor FM, you may be able to ask your question via voice, and we can play that on the show. So,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. So we're kind of messing around with that, seeing what we want to do with that. But thank you for getting that into us. We appreciate it. All right, that means we just got our buried treasure, guys. What's one thing in the area of pop culture, any area of pop culture, that you want to let people know about this week?
You haven't gone first yet.
I'll start. That's fine. I want to talk about American Gods.
Yeah.
And when I say buried treasure with American Gods, we're going to emphasize the word buried because It's so hard to understand this show. Like, especially if you have no context. If you don't know the book,
I've read the book, so it makes sense to me.
It makes no sense to me.
So here's the deal, though. If you haven't seen the show and you read the book, unless you're digesting it page by page, the book is still very confusing. There's so many characters. There's so much going on. And the fact is, so much of the book, you forget that they're talking about something else. Does it make sense? They're pretending to be these people. They're not, but it's all in the service of this grand plan that he doesn't even know yet.
Yeah.
So, like, the book is super confusing. I've refused to watch the show. I want it to finish so I can binge it.
Yeah, I'm kind of wishing I had done that too.
So, because I don't want to be doing the episode to episode, what next? Where are they gonna?
I'm 3 episodes in, which is what I always promise every new show I watch that I'll give them 3 episodes and then I'll make my decision.
And you like?
Well, I haven't come down yet. I don't know yet if I'm going to watch episode 4. It has to give me something to hold on to soon, and I just don't have it yet. I mean, it's gorgeous, but that's just not enough.
By the way, I did look up because I don't know if it was you or if it was you who told me that I should watch the show because the casting is spot on. I finally looked up to see who they cast to play Wednesday. Oh my God, it could not be more perfect. To
Ian McShane is great.
Yeah,
I'm like. Oh, I wasn't know if we were going to.
He is killing it as Mr. Wednesday. I will say this, and if there are people out there who haven't picked it up, who have read the books, I know we're only 3 episodes in, but I don't think I've ever seen a show so faithful to the original material. It is almost word for word what the books are. I didn't think you could do that.
Well, maybe that's its problem.
Like a lot of
maybe you needed to adjust a few things.
Like the whole you've read part of the book then? The whole Future Boy thing in the car, like it's exactly how it happens. Like,
oh my God,
I don't know how you
such
pulled
a great
that
scene
off.
in the book.
Well, I described it on Twitter as drowning in a messy swamp, and at the last second you realize it tastes like chocolate.
I'll tell you this. I think hopefully
that's a heck of an analogy.
If they continue on with what the books are, I think by the end of this season, everything you will have seen will have been justified and makes sense. So if you watch it again, you'll be like,
that's just a hard thing. It's a hard thing to be like, I promise it'll make sense at the end. And it's just
it's kind of like what Westworld did.
No, Westworld was very different. Westworld had stuff every episode that kept me interested, and I knew what was going on, and I understood.
Well, I understood what was going on in Westworld, but every single episode I watched, 3 more questions.
Sure, but I don't mind that. I just want some footing. Like, I don't have
so you
any
don't have
footing.
A ground to stand on right now. Okay.
Yeah. So there's just so much unknown. So, and we'll see. I haven't, like I said, I haven't fully decided yet.
Okay.
What about you, Sean?
Okay, super excited. So now 4 years ago, I published an article saying that Nintendo was in the worst position they've ever been in their entire lives, and that they needed to change their business model. And we talked about how they needed to bring their games to mobile. They needed to stop being so
console-based,
controlling, and insistent that it be on their consoles, that they look at what they have as value and find ways to market it in other areas. And I told them the mobile would be the killing space, is what we published. And so they've experimented, and we've seen Super Mario Run, which was fun, but only about 10% of people actually paid for the game, because once you get through the free part, you've got the experience.
That's what my boys are complaining about. They love the game. They just don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, it's not exciting enough, or there's not enough there to pay for.
Right.
And then there's Fire Emblem Heroes, which is great and fantastic, but it's a massive money grab. It's one of those that lets you play up to a certain point and gets you all into this, and then look, and all you need is to pay a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there and a little bit there, and look what else you can do. And so there's people who have poured thousands and thousands in this game, but it's just a money grab. But at the end of this year, they are going to take the best franchise they own, and they're moving it to mobile. Zelda's coming to mobile.
Wow.
At the end of this year.
I didn't know that.
And I don't know whether to be terrified or super, super excited. I'm super excited to see Zelda. It's one of those things where I love it so much. I'm a fan of anything that exposes more people to what Zelda is. So I'm excited about this idea that they're going to bring it to mobile and find a new format for it. And they're going to find a new way to tell these stories and build these characters a new environment. I'm curious to see how they translate something that's so epic in its scale and try to Mario is easy to break down, generic hero, princess, bad guy, levels,
right.
Face the gauntlet. But something that has the scale that Zelda does, to see that brought down into a mobile form, I just hope they can do it justice. But I'm very excited about the prospect. See, Nintendo was closed-minded to mobile because it's a very Japanese culture.
They're closed-minded to so many things that could be beneficial for them.
That's their culture, though. This is why Sega failed. I could write you a whole book on this. It's why Sega failed, and it's why Nintendo has struggled. It's the culture that refuses to adapt. And they refuse, these mobile concepts and platforms are very much a Western development. And these developers don't want any part of it because they're like, these are, grand franchises. These amazing stories will only be told in our own environment. So when they saw Pokemon Go filling the coffers, when they were in desperate need, they were like, oh, maybe there is something to this. And so next thing you know, Super Mario Run is on the books.
I've been saying for about 6 years now that Nintendo needs to turn into a third-party developer.
Yeah, they just need to make...
I totally disagree with that, though. I hate it when people say that, because I think they do such a great job with their consoles.
I don't.
I think the Switch is another great example.
The Switch is changing things.
If Nintendo goes away of the console business, nobody's innovating. Period.
This is true.
Oh, I do not agree with
Sony
that.
and Xbox do not innovate. They do not.
Fisticuffs, son.
No, they don't. What they do.
As a hardcore Sony fan, I have to agree with him. They would get complacent. The two of them would just trade. They would be in the Intel AMD business.
Exactly.
Okay? They would be in the Nvidia and Radeon business. Okay. So they would constantly be just going, well, just an incremental little step more, but you'll pay this much for it. Okay. But because Nintendo shakes things up and they have brand cachet. So I do disagree with you on the console front. Nintendo has been screwing up with their consoles since the N64. They haven't made a console worth owning since the 64. But they innovate.
They've made consoles.
GameCube. I owned GameCube too. I owned all of them, but
you say they haven't made one worth owning, and I can see you backing that up. But you can't deny that they have made ones that people believe are worth buying. Like, I mean, the Wii sold like crazy.
Yeah, but
the Switch is selling too.
Switch is because the Switch is true innovation. The Wii was a tchotchke product that sold in bulk to nursing homes, schools. The only reason it sold as many units as it did was because corporations bought large numbers of them because they thought it was going to be some sort of learning, educational tool. There was a new way to get people interactive.
I think that's a short-sighted view of the sales of the Wii. I think that's part of it.
And it was also the has-been console. Everybody had a primary console, and then they had a Wii because, if friends came over, we can do Wii bowling or tennis. But it truly wasn't a gamer's console by any standpoint.
Yeah.
And so,
I loved it.
Yeah, innovation. I agree with you 100%. Though, if Nintendo left the business,
so much Wii bowling,
we'd all be screwed.
That was fun. What do you want to follow that up with,
I can
Andrew?
see the veins in Andrew's neck. Andrew, if you don't know, is a
dinosaur. Have Andrew and Aaron
Microsoft fan.
Go head to head.
That's gonna go down in history.
Fisticuffs, sons.
Yeah. My buried treasure?
Yes. What's your buried treasure, Andrew?
So I told you last night what my buried treasure was going to be. I saw a movie that had kind of gone by the wayside for me. I know everybody who saw the movie said they absolutely loved it. And I totally agree. I saw Joel Edgerton's The Gift last night, or yesterday. Mm-hmm. Never seen that movie before. He wrote, directed, and starred in it. And wow, that was a good movie.
Yeah, that's the definition of a buried treasure. That's one a lot of people have missed.
Yeah. Have you seen that movie?
The Gift. Joel Edgerton?
It's him, Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman's great in it.
What's her name?
Oh, that movie freaked me out.
It's so good.
Oh, I'm scared of neighbors now.
Rebecca Hall.
The Gift is freaky.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, I didn't remember the name. But as soon as you said Jason Bateman, I'm like, oh, he hasn't made anything. Oh, that creepy movie. Oh, yeah.
And it's so smart, so well structured, so well acted.
Yeah. What it has to say about bullying, because a lot of people think, bullying is this physical thing, but the mental ramifications of like psychological bullying and what it can do is like terrifying. And I think we've all experienced bullying. I think we've all just mentioned at one point in time we were bullied in one sense or another. Not to this extent in this movie, obviously, but I'm speaking for myself there. But what it showed, what people have to go through is like horrifying. And even so many years down the road, what that can do to somebody.
Yeah.
So, If you've never seen The Gift, starring Joel Edgerton,
Buried treasure.
I cannot recommend that movie enough. It was so good.
High recommend for me as well.
Oh, so
Good stuff.
It made my best movies of that year. And it's one of those movies that surprises you. You know, like you don't necessarily expect it to be great, and then you watch it and you're like, oh, that's great.
It's kind of like, what was that movie that had the blind man last year where they were trapped in his house?
Oh.
That movie was not great.
Don't Breathe?
Don't Breathe was not great.
Beg to differ, sir. That was in my top movies of the year.
I love the look on Aaron's face.
That movie is
when
ridiculous.
the realization of what you were talking about
No.
clicked, and he was like,
No,
Oh,
that was
no.
in my top movies of last year,
Andrew.
and because I didn't expect
soul.
anything from it, and it blew me away with how good it was.
Weren't you on the podcast for that review?
I was.
Yeah.
And I loved that movie. All right, fine. Gosh.
Guess what, Andrew? We get to disagree. It doesn't mean that either one of us is right or wrong. It just means we get to disagree.
Or as Andrew would put it, you can disagree all you want. You're allowed to be wrong.
Yeah, I do love saying that. You're allowed to be wrong. It is America.
Thanks so much for joining us today for Siftpop. It is part of the Studio DNA podcast network. You can find out more about other live and later shows on the network by following the feed at mixlr.com/studiodna. That's mixlr.com/studiodna. Huge thanks again to today's guru, Sean from Geek.0. Sean, you got anything you want to plug?
Yeah. Hey, guys, come check us out at Geek.0.com. That's GeekPoint0.com. Just all spelled out, and all of the accompanying social medias as well, YouTube, Facebook, all the rest of them, /Geek.0. Come check out our Facebook page and our Twitter. We are giving away a copy of Injustice 2 this month for anybody who doesn't have it yet on the platform of your choice. So enter and win, and we'll keep you updated with a steady stream of awesome news and breaking news in the worlds of pop culture, gaming, and tech.
What if my platform of choice is the Nintendo Switch?
Then you're kind of stuck.
Much love and gratitude also to our Patreon supporters for giving monthly to make this show and others on the network possible. Support starts at $3 a month, comes with some pretty fun perks. You can find out more information at patreon.com/studiodna. There's lots of ways to connect with the podcast. You can do that at SoundCloud, you can tweet at us, iTunes, or you can email us, feedback@siftpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like the podcast too. Make sure you let them know about it, and that listening is much easier than birthing a xenomorph. Spoiler chat for this week's movie should be up next in your podcast feed, and we'll see you back next week for maybe some Baywatch or Pirates. Arg. Insert movie audio here.
Oh, God.
Quit coming out of me! Splash, splash.
Squirt.
What's that red stuff on the camera? Red stuff on the camera. Red stuff on the camera. Red stuff on the camera.